All right, so the last 2 weeks have been a good one for the NBA's biggest villain, Kyrie Irving, and they've been a rough one for the get the jab or else community. those those folks been in hiding. The get the jab or else community been hiding ever since Kyrie Irving turned up. But he's been on a heater. He's been on a hot streak. He's had a hell of the past 2 weeks. 60 points against the Orlando Magic, the most efficient 50-point game in NBA history against the Charlotte Hornets. He had over 20 points in about 3 quarters against the Philadelphia 76ers, got them out the way early, was locking up James Harden, held James Harden to 1 of 12 shooting to start the game. So Kyrie Irving has been on one. And for anybody who's paid attention to Kyrie Irving during his career, this isn't really too shocking. I mean, we haven't seen it for a while, so it might have caught you off guard a little bit. And the fact that he's not very rusty and he's just only playing road games and barely around the team but still able to do this might have caught you a little off guard, but it's not very shocking. Anybody who knows what Kyrie is capable of knows that he's probably the most talented player in NBA history. He definitely has the most handles of all time. And he can score from just about anywhere. He's ambidextrous. He can do everything with the basketball. So there's not one spot on the court where he's not a threat to light up the opposition. So Skip and Shannon are going to talk about his performance, and I'll chime in.
Should Nash have left Kyrie in the game?
I can barely talk. He got me so amped over here. My glasses falling up. I had to bring the word to you.
Blame it on Baker. Everybody else blames him for everything. It's his fault.
I guess the segment before they were talking about Baker Mayfield. You know, Skip loves Baker Mayfield, so it looks like Shannon was grilling him for it. Baker Mayfield's that's a whole another topic. That's a mess right now.
Skip, if I was Steve Nash, I would have said, Kyrie, you got 9 shots. Because he came out, if I'm not mistaken, Skip, at 8:29. I'm going to say
8:32.
8:32, okay.
Yep.
I'm going to say, Kyrie, you get 9 shots to get to 70. Because, Skip, there's something about 60. Skip, 60 is nothing. 50 is nothing to sneeze at. 60 is really nothing to sneeze at. But there's only been 11 70-point games. And Will Chamberlain has 6 of those.
Devin Booker.
Devin Booker.
Yeah.
Devin Booker has. Kobe has the 81. You got Elgin Baylor, David Robinson, and...
You know, before he keeps going, I just want to say, shout out to Kyrie Irving for actually getting a round number. He got 60 points. A lot of guys, they score 47 or 53 or 42, whatever the case is. And they try to get to that round number, but they might miss a free throw. I remember KD missed a free throw, and he finished with 49 against the Milwaukee Bucks in last year's postseason in Game 5. He finished with 49 because he missed a free throw. That happens a lot where a player will just ball out. It's happened to Steph Curry numerous times where a player just balls out and they get to a number like 44 or 46, and they just can't make those last couple baskets to get to 50. So he got to that round number, and it's just cool to tell the story 10, 20, 30 years from now. Hey, I scored 60 points. Or it's just a more iconic number to get to the round number than it is to say, oh, I scored 54.
And the Skywalker, David Thompson. I'm going to say, Kyrie, I'm going to give you 4 minutes to get 9 shots up. To get to 70. Because here's the thing, Skip, because remember, he played all but 1 minute in the first half.
Yep.
So what I would have done, I'm going to say, I'm going to give you 9 shots to get to 70. Because guess what? They got 13 games left. Guess how many Kyrie get to play in? 3.
Exactly. So he needs to get his legs. He needs to get his legs right, but he looks like he's ready to go. I mean, you're not scoring 60 points, 50 points because if you're out of condition, you're not going to be able to score that many points. You know, when you're scoring, there's a stamina, there's a scoring stamina that you have to have at a high level if you want to score that many points, because you get fatigued trying to score the basketball that much. Taking that many shots a game it's very fatiguing. It drains your body. You see a lot of guys like a James Harden or a Luka Doncic, they get hot during games, and by the end of games they kind of wear out. Or you even see LeBron, like LeBron will go off for like 40, but there's very few times that he passes 40 and gets to 50 because he just kind of wears out. Or His body kind of caves in a little bit after about 40 points or so. But Kyrie Irving, he can just keep going and keep going. He doesn't have no fatigue when it comes to scoring, and that's why I have Kyrie above a lot of guys. When we talk about who we want going into the playoffs, who the top players are heading into the postseason, I have Kyrie up there with just about anybody. I mean, when it matters most, there's guys like DeMar DeRozan who are having great regular seasons, but when it matters most, my top 10, and I was thinking about this earlier today, I would have to put Giannis 1 out of respect, Kevin Durant 2 for everything he can do, Jokic 3 because he's an anchor on the defensive end. He's an anchor on the defensive end this season, and he's always been the anchor on the offensive end. He can create. He can do everything on the court. Jokic is he's like that kid on the basketball team growing up who was the best player, but he was also the tallest. So he could dribble and shoot better than everybody, but he was also the tallest. So coach asked him to be close to the hoop to get the rebounds for you guys. He plays center in your 2-3 defense when you were in middle school, but he was also the point guard. After he got the rebound, he just dribbled it down. He didn't give no outlet pass or anything. That's Jokic. So 4, I would put Steph. Even in a down year, Steph 4. That just goes to show how good Steph Curry is. I'd put him 4. And 5 right now, I'd have to go. 5 right now, I'd have to go Embiid. Embiid's just so dominant. I'd have to put Embiid 5. And that's where Kyrie comes in. It's hard to really take anybody else when the money's on the line in a Game 7 or in a play-in situation or in a must-win situation on the road. Like, there's not really anybody who you take over Kyrie. And I'm saying this assuming that they're going to lift the mandate and that they're going to allow him to play. And if he's not allowed to play home games, I'm saying this for when he's on the road. There's not really anybody who I'd rather take besides those guys that I mentioned already. I'd probably put Kyrie Irving 6th. Ja Morant would have to be 7th. He'd have to be up there because he's winning games. What he's doing this season is just phenomenal, and I trust him. I don't trust him more than Kyrie because with Kyrie, I've seen it before, so it's not faith. I've actually seen it before. So I trust Kyrie, but I trust Ja too. I'll put Ja right behind him at 7. I'll put Jason Tatum 8. Actually, I'll put Devin Booker 8 because Devin Booker is winning games playing his style of basketball, and he's winning games and dominating at his role. So I'll put Devin Booker 8 because he's having a lot of success playing the way that he's playing. He knows how to fit into the system, and he's just such a weapon, and he's buying into the defensive end. And he playmakes too. When Chris Paul is out, Devin Booker, he takes on that playmaking role, and he does it well. So I'll put Devin Booker 8. I'll put Jason Tatum 9 because Jason Tatum, he's buying in on the defensive end. He's a great defensive player. My problem with Tatum that I'll take Booker over him is Booker is more efficient. Tatum, sometimes his shot selection isn't quite what you would like. He takes one too many difficult shots for me, but he brings it on the defensive end. He scores a lot. He rebounds well. He got a lot stronger. So Tatum's right up there for me. And 10, rounding out my list right now, would be Luka. I have a couple problems with Luka. He's a little too out of shape. Conditioning, not very athletic, so it hurts him later in games. He kind of dies out a little bit as the games go on. He can get a switch. He can call a screen and get the switch and take a big man one-on-one and score on the big man. He can pick his spots, but he just relies on a little too much as the game goes on. He just can't go and get a bucket the same way he would in the first half or in the first 3 quarters because he's a little too tired. And he doesn't bring it with the same intensity on the defensive end. He doesn't really play any defense, but he doesn't bring the same intensity into the second half. And his style of play, he doesn't really know how to be off the ball. So he has to be on the ball, and because he gets tired fast and he gets worn out, him being on the ball, it kind of just slows up the pace for his team. When he has guys who can get in transition and score, but he has to slow the game down for them. So it kind of he helps the players around him, but he also kind of hinders them in certain ways. Very similar to LeBron. And yeah, so I would have Luka 10th. But Luka, he's phenomenal. Just I want that free throw percentage to go up, and I need him to turn the ball over a little less. He's turning the ball over about 5 times a game right now. So LeBron would be right outside the top 10 for me at 11. And that's LeBron without Anthony Davis. LeBron without Anthony Davis, where he has to be the anchor on offense and defense, he just can't quite do it at the highest level right now. So I'll put LeBron right outside the top 10. And he's also quitting way too much. He quits on plays. He's just not bringing it all the time. And because he's getting older and less athletic, he has to pick his spots a little more. He never had the most diverse offensive bag. So he's picking his spots a little more. And because of that, I can't rely on him to just take it to the basket at will like he used to. And he doesn't have the most reliable jumper where he can just cash it automatically. Like, I like LeBron's jumper. He hits it more than he ever has, but I can't just guarantee that the shot's going to go in, you know? So I'll put LeBron right outside my top 10. And this list is without Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Damian Lillard, James Harden, Anthony Davis. That's without these guys because all these guys are banged up. And James Harden's not banged up. He's playing, but it's just a down year. We'll see next year if he bounces back from it or if James Harden's just kind of fallen off. But that's my top 10 list for right now. I know people think that's crazy that Kyrie Irving is in it. But when you look at what he's done the past 2 weeks, I mean, therein lies the truth, you know? That's the examples right there. He's unguardable. It's non for real.
Get your workout in. Because every chance I get, Skip, I'm going to let him get his workout in. And that's, Skip, I understand as a coach how a coach thinks. Coach says, man, the last thing I need him to step on somebody's ankle. He got 60 points. What the hell you still doing in the game?
Correct.
He goes up for a layup and somebody, fouls him hard. He breaks something. Why would the hell Kyrie was still in the game? Skip, I get it. But it's very, very rare that you see somebody cooking like Kyrie was cooking. You go get 41 points and a half, Skip. Oh, I think he had like 17 shots. I think he was like 13, 14, or 17. Mm-hmm. Skip, I got
you're talking in the first half.
Yeah. Skip, I ain't gonna lie. I got to let him try to get 70. I got to. That's just my nature. You got to. It's like a running back. If he got 199 yards, I'm gonna put him back in the game so he can get 100. A baseball player, Skip, we've seen
You mean 200?
Baseball players have 3 home runs and a single. Oh, they coming back up to try to get that 4th home run. I got to let him, Skip. I get it from a coaching standpoint. I see both sides of the equation. If I'm a coach, the last thing, man, they run Steve Nash up out of town. Even though Kyrie can only play on away games, he steps on somebody's ankle. He has 60 points with 7 minutes to go, and you up by 30. Why the hell is Kyrie still in the game? But Skip, I got to roll the dice. I ain't gonna even lie to you, Skip. I'm gonna let Kyrie try to get 70 points in this game. I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it, Skip. I'm sorry.
Okay, allow me to.
Nah, the Nets with the luck that they've been having this year and everything going on, you cannot risk a Kyrie injury. And Kyrie is very injury prone. I would have took him out too. And Kyrie seemed to be okay with getting taken out after getting 60. Like 60 was the benchmark, and once he got that, he was good to go. I mean, this game against the Magic, it wasn't like it was a close game that he needed to play and every point he was scoring mattered. Like, they were killing him. Against the Hornets, those points were a little more crucial when he scored 50 against the Hornets because the Hornets actually made a little comeback and they got back into the game. But against the Magic, they didn't. I mean, his 60 points was amazing, but they didn't particularly need his 60 points, right? So it wasn't essential. So once he gets his little, 60 points, career high, all that, it's good and well. Now you take him out, you make sure that he's available come postseason time.
Say before I launch on this. Kyrie Irving proved once again last night that inch for inch, he's the greatest scorer we've ever seen. I'm talking about inch for inch because he's only 6'2".
Right.
Allen Iverson was really great. Allen Iverson was a better all-around athlete than Kyrie, but Allen Iverson couldn't score this way.
No.
Agreed. I mean, Kevin Durant, post-game the other night about a week, I think it was after the Hornets game, he called Kyrie 5'10" or 5'11". I think he said Kyrie, the things that he does at 5'10", but we know KD be making up height. Like, KD will say he's 7 feet, but then he'll say he's 6'9", or whatever the case is. So, like, nobody really knows what KD's height is. We just know he's tall as hell. So, everybody looks 5'10" to Kevin Durant. So, I don't know. But Kyrie does look kind of short compared to other guards. Like, they say Steph is 6'3", and I know Steph is a big 6'3". Like, he's 6'3", getting close to 6'4". And Kyrie looks small next to Steph. Like, Kyrie always looks shorter than Steph. Like, noticeably shorter than Steph. So, I wouldn't be surprised. They have Kyrie listed at 6'2". I wouldn't be surprised if Kyrie's really like 6 feet and a half or 6'1", something like that. But pound for pound, yeah, I cannot argue that Kyrie Irving is the greatest scorer we've ever seen pound for pound, or at least the most diverse scorer we've ever seen pound for pound. Like Steph Curry averages more points for his career than Kyrie Irving, but Kyrie can score more in more various ways. You know, Kyrie has a deeper bag. So what really defines a greater score? Is it averaging more points, or lighting it up more? Because Steph does that, or is it being able to do more things on the offensive end? Because that would be Kyrie.
Because he ain't got the three ball. Because Kyrie got the three ball. Iverson wasn't that great. Now mid range, Iverson can shoot mid range, and he can finish at the rim as small as he was. But still, from the three to the basket, I ain't seen nobody like Kyrie.
There's never been anything like him at 6 feet 2 inches tall. And as his coach Steve Nash said after the game, that he said, I felt like he had my career highlight reel, my whole highlight reel in the first 12 minutes.
Yeah, and Steve Nash won back-to-back MVPs, but Kyrie Irving would bust Steve Nash's ass. Like, Kyrie Irving would bust Steve Nash's ass, but Steve Nash had a better overall career. 2 back-to-back MVPs. Kyrie Irving does have a championship, though, which Steve Nash does not have. But Steve Nash, 2-time MVP, point god, as they say. But, what Kyrie Irving can do is just incredible. Like I said, ambidextrous. He can finish with both hands. He's creative. He's gone games. He's gone quarters just shooting with just his left hand, just to show off. He'll catch the ball without even dipping on the three-point shot. Like, he'll catch the ball at his chest and just rise up without dipping and putting the ball down to bring it back up, like just to get the release off quick. He has post game. He can score anywhere on the court. He can shoot with range from the three. He can break you off. He can do everything on the court. Nastiest handle of all time.
Steve Nash won back-to-back MVPs in 2005 and 2006. I'm talking about back-to-back NBA MVPs.
Yes, that's rare.
And the head coach is saying, I saw all my career highlights in 12 minutes from that kid in the first quarter. Okay, my point is, it is rare. We saw it on full display. I didn't watch the first quarter, but then I looked at the computer. I said, I got to tune this one in because it's Orlando.
Right.
They're the worst team in the East. They're vying for worst team in basketball. Right now, Houston's one game worse than they are in the West, but still, they are by far the worst team, Orlando, in the East.
Right.
And even though it took overtime for Philly to win at Orlando, which I thought was more of an indictment of Philly than it was credit to Orlando.
I agree with you. I agree.
Right. But the point was, by the point in question, with 8:32 left in the game, Orlando was so demoralized that I'm not saying they were quitting. They just were giving up on themselves.
Right.
It's weird. You just can't do anything because they...
Well, they quitted before the game even started when they were in drop coverage. If you watch the highlights, if you watch Kyrie's highlights, every time he came off the screen, like Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter Jr., they were just sagging off. Like, I guess the scheme was to be in drop coverage and not let Kyrie come downhill and cook you. So they were just giving Kyrie jumpers. Like, he would get the screen, he would dribble around the screen, and then he'd be wide open. Like, there would be not even a late contest. He would be wide open. So they quit before the game even started with that scheme.
They couldn't stop anybody, let alone Kyrie. So it was hard to justify letting him go because the game had lost all credibility. At that point, the score was 131-94. It's a 37-point game. The fan in me is with you on this. Like, okay, well, let him try for 70. Let him just see what...
I'm cool with Kyrie running it up on the Magic because he ran it up on the Hornets, who are a better team than the Magic. I mean, at least the Hornets are competing in the play-in. And he ran it up on the Sixers. He had a great game against the Sixers. He didn't light it up the same way, but his defense was there and just the timely plays were there. So he's just whooping whoever's in front of him. So I'm cool with it.
What happens? But two things were operating. Remember, Kyrie's not in the greatest of shape yet because he doesn't play that much basketball.
Well, he looks fine to me.
And he'll take off whole weeks at a time before he gets to play another game.
You do realize the next time Kyrie plays,
Yep,
it'll be next Wednesday.
I got it.
So Skip, guess what? I'm gonna let him get. I think he played 30. He played 35 minutes. I'm gonna let him get 38, 39. Skip, he's not gonna play again until next Wednesday.
I got it. And they are, to your point, playing back-to-back tonight against Dallas at home. And by the way, they're a dog to Dallas by a couple of points because they're not going to have Kyrie.
Correct.
And they still...
Took Dallas money line because I'm recording this after the game between the Nets and the Mavericks, by the way, but I took Dallas money line because It started off closer to like, I think it was Mavs -1.5, and then it creeped up to Mavs -3 by the time I got to it. So I just took Mavs money line to be safe. As you guys probably know, Spencer Dinwiddie hit that game winner. KD hit a big shot to take the lead, and then Dinwiddie hit a big three. So the Mavs won by 2. I believe it was 113, 111. So I hit on the Mavs money line. I would have hit on the opening line if I got to it, but -3, I'm glad I didn't take it.
We're going to talk about this in a few minutes.
And I'll be making videos during the playoffs. There's games every other day in the playoffs. They don't play back to back, so I'll have time to analyze the game, to study the lines, do everything I need to do, and I'll be releasing videos on the spreads with my picks for the NBA playoffs. So stay tuned for that.
Still don't have Ben Simmons,
Right.
and I do not understand that. But because they don't, the point is, this game got so out of hand. It was so hard to watch at that point from Orlando's point of view that it was hard to justify leaving him in because it became a joke. Because for a while they were trying to like triple team, and then at the end they were just saying, "Okay, just shoot."
And he realized,
The fans were cheering for him. The fans were going crazy for Kyrie in Orlando.
that Skip comes, so he came up and had to launch a 28-foot three because he saw every time they get the ball, it's kind of like we were on there. We was talking about Devin Booker. Devin Booker had back-to-back 50. He had 48 with like 3 minutes to go against Memphis. They triple teamed and said, "You're not going for 50 in 3 straight games against us." And it was like, oh, now y'all want to triple team the man. The man that just blew the doors off you, and now you want to triple team him.
Okay, just to demonstrate.
Yeah, I mean, you should have had more pride earlier in the game, but shit, better late than never. Gotta have some type of pride. You can't just let somebody light you up like that.
Just how bad it was for Orlando trying to guard anybody in a Nets jersey. Look at what happened.
If a player is torching you, lighting you up like that, it better be a close game. Like with the Warriors, I give the Warriors flack sometimes. I give Steve Kerr some flack, but when a player is going off against the Warriors, it's usually a close game. Like LeBron is going for 40 or going for 50, or somebody's just cooking the Warriors, but the rest of the role players for the opposing team, they're not doing anything. So it's just 1-on-5 basketball. Like if you're gonna let someone else cook, it better be because the game's close and because them cooking is them being kind of selfish and sticking to themselves and not trusting their teammates with the ball, and then you can use that against them in the fourth quarter a little bit. But if the other teammates are getting involved, they're getting some touches, and then a guy is still just lighting your ass up, that's a recipe for disaster.
With the bench last night for the Nets.
Oh, yeah.
You want a statistical anomaly here? This is a statistical weirdity. Try this one on for size. Look at Kyrie's final numbers, 20 of 31.
Yeah.
Guess what his bench was? 20 of 31. Kyrie was 8 of 12 from 3. Guess what the bench was from 3? 8 of 12. How weird is that? I mean, it just happened. You know, it's just one of those million to one shot.
Everybody was eating. The Magic suck. They're in tank mode.
Right.
But it demonstrates the bench was scoring just like Kyrie was scoring. Like without opposition almost. It's like, you want it, you got it.
Yeah. Now you see why Draymond got on that phone with his towel with soap still in his eyes and called Kevin Durant.
Yo, Shannon is going to go with this shit till the fucking end of time, bro. Until the last days, man. Like, Shannon is just going to keep going with this narrative, keep going with this lie. Like, Draymond already debunked that. He didn't call Kevin Durant from the parking lot crying or anything like that. Kevin Durant called Draymond, if I'm getting the story correctly, Kevin Durant called Draymond while Draymond was still in the locker room after Game 7. Kevin Durant watched the game just like we all did, and he was talking to Draymond in the locker room about the game. And Kevin Durant had already been in talks with the Warriors throughout that whole season, kind of little elbows, little wink winks, and, small little discussions like this would maybe happen. And Draymond took less money on his contract. When he was in contract negotiations, he took less money so they would have enough money to sign somebody. And Kevin Durant was the number one person on his mind when he did so. So these were things that were being communicated. These were things that were going on. And Kevin Durant reached out to Draymond because Kevin Durant was just as interested as the Warriors were. It was a two-way street. The Warriors needed Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant needed the Warriors. And that's why it worked so perfectly.
Because with that guy and LeBron, Golden State was never going to see LeBron and Kyrie again. That's why they did that.
Well, now Shannon gets it. Now Shannon's putting some respect on Kyrie. Usually, Shannon would just go on and on about how the Warriors had to do that because of LeBron James. But it's because of LeBron and Kyrie as a tandem. They were just so explosive. LeBron with everything he does on the court, and Kyrie just as an ultimate offensive weapon. It was just too much because Kyrie was going head-to-head with Steph Curry. And, any given game, he can win that matchup. And then LeBron was going head-to-head with Harrison Barnes and Draymond Green, and he's winning that matchup. So it really became Kevin Love and the role players versus Klay and the Warriors role players. So that was a fair matchup. When you look at the Cleveland roster and you see the names like J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson, Iman Shumpert, Matthew Dellavedova, Richard Jefferson, all these names, they had name brand guys. I think they got Deron Williams later on. They had name Channing Frye, James Jones. They had these name brand guys. They had name recognition. Guys who you've known in the NBA for a long time. Guys that fill their role as veteran players. With the Warriors, it was Steph, Klay, and they were newbies. And then you have Draymond Green, but Draymond Green isn't putting a whole lot of points on the board. And then you had Harrison Barnes, who was missing everything. You had Bogut, who was hurt, banged up, didn't even play in Game 7. You had Andre Iguodala, who was hurt, banged up, couldn't even dunk at the rim during the most important play in Game 7. You had the bench consisted of Leandro Barbosa and Mo Spates and Festus Ezeli, guys who in the regular season coming off of Steph Curry in the motion offense before teams knew how to stop the motion offense, it was working perfectly. But once teams key in on Steph Curry and those guys have to rely on themselves to create plays or have to pull something out their own bag, Leandro Barbosa, Mo Space, they're not really going to do too much. Both those guys kind of went out the league shortly after that season. So even though the Warriors won 73 games, the Cavs had the better team on paper. Michael Jordan even said that after the series, that it wasn't really the upset. The Cavs were the better team. The Cavs should have never been down 3-1 in the first place because they had the better overall roster. You have LeBron James. If LeBron is really the best player in the world, why are you down 3-1 in the first place? With Harrison Barnes missing every single shot, you're going to be down 3-1. It just didn't make any sense. You needed Draymond to get suspended just to steal Game 5 in Oracle. It was that series is just so fucking crazy. But after that series, the Cavs had a little bit of a mental hold on the Warriors. The Warriors were choked up. Steph Curry had choked up. It was going to be hard for the Warriors to come back after blowing it. It was always going to be a back and forth thing. If Kevin Durant never joined the Warriors and the Cavs would have been trading championships. Maybe the Cavs would repeat and win the next year, or maybe the Warriors would come back, but then the Cavs would win the next year after that. It would have been a back and forth thing. But Kevin Durant joined the Warriors and he took them over the top. And really, Kevin Durant was there to go against LeBron James. You had Steph and Kyrie going at each other, and now Kevin Durant was there to negate LeBron. And Kevin Durant outplayed LeBron, and that's why Kevin Durant was Finals MVP both times, and that's when Kevin Durant became the best player in the NBA. Now, Giannis has usurped him because he won the championship, but we know that Kevin Durant was shorthanded in that series. So this postseason is going to tell us a lot. We obviously don't have Kawhi Leonard, but this postseason is going to tell us a lot.
Watch that game when he went against San Antonio and he took him to overtime. Skip, he was hotter than that last night.
That was a long time ago, but he was just I was a huge Spur fan at that point, and I'm saying that's
The game Kyrie had against the Spurs where he scored 57, that game was more impressive than this one because that game was a close game and you were going against the Kawhi Leonard Spurs. That was tough. That was in San Antonio. I remember that game like it was yesterday. Kyrie was balling.
unstoppable.
And you saw this, Skip, he coming up on a 1-on-4 fast break and pulling up from 26. Like it's nothing. The shot that he was making, the acrobats around the rim, and he's got 6'10", 6'11 guys challenging him. The English, the art, the rotation that he puts on the ball, Skip, we've never seen. Isaiah could pat the ball. Pete Maravich could pat the ball, but they didn't have his game. Other guys can shoot from distance. Steph can shoot from distance better. Dave can shoot from distance.
Agreed.
But when you talk about handles and from the three-point line to the basket, nobody. Kobe, Michael, James Harden, LeBron, nobody can see that little man right there.
They cannot. I totally agree.
Total package. The only weaknesses in Kyrie's game, if we're really going to nitpick right now and we're really going to be critical, the only weaknesses in his game is sometimes he can get a little too caught up in iso ball, one-on-one ball. That happened when he was in Boston, not really being the best leader and just getting too caught up in me versus the world. That can be Kyrie's problem. Two, of course, this isn't on the court, but just the inconsistencies. I'm cool with anybody having their beliefs. I actually agree with him in his decision to not get the jab. But, it's hurting the team because he can't play. And, Kyrie is an inconsistent dude who will take games off or who will just go missing for 2 weeks to fight his cause or whatever conspiracy theory Kyrie is on at the moment. So that's another thing with Kyrie. And the third thing is he's just too small. Like if Kyrie was 6'6", 6'7", it would be a wrap. But he's 6'1", 6'2", so there's limitations there.
The trick shots in his bag.
No.
The spin off the glass,
Yes!
the English. He's just got every
The
shot.
the up and under, the way he can flick his wrist and the ball just like, hold on. Did you see how the hell did it?
I mean, on the shot where Kyrie scored 50 points, when he shot the ball, he was attacking the basket and he finished as he was coming down. So he almost went back touching the ground when he got the ball out his hand. And the spin that he put on it to get the ball up and the spin that he put on it off the backboard so that way it would go in, it was remarkable. It was one of the craziest shots I've ever seen. And he's the only guy in the NBA right now who could make that shot. Like, it was ridiculous. And it's really his balance, his core strength. It's just so crazy. So that's what gives him that edge over everybody. He can just hang in the air. He's the best under the rim finisher that we've seen in such a long time. I'm trying to think, but he's an all-time under the rim finisher.
Skip, you saw how he got 50. He did it with his lip. I'm like, hold on, wait, come on, man. You better stop playing.
Exactly. That's the shot I'm talking about. It was ridiculous. It was like a trick shot. And he hit that one to get to 50. Like a lot of guys, they're at 48 points and they're kind of choking. Like they feel the pressure. They know that they have 48 and they just can't get over the hump to 50. Like he be knowing he has 48. He be knowing he has 58. And then he hits the craziest shot to get over the hump. It's remarkable.
Okay, so you have him and you have Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
What does Stephen A. Smith always say about Kyrie Irving? You walk through the turnstiles to see the show that this brother put on. That's Stephen A. go-to line when he talk about Kyrie. When he's not hating on Kyrie, that's the go-to line.
Yes.
On the same.
We know Stephen A. Smith is a company, man. If you don't get the jab, Stephen A. Smith is going to harass you.
Basketball team.
Yes.
And I keep saying, you could argue these are the two most, as a combination.
Score? No. Nobody's not been close to that.
There's never been.
Oh, yeah. These guys, they're the two. I mean, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I mean, Shaq and Kobe were just unstoppable too. And that's because Shaq was just so dominant. But in terms of perimeter shot makers, like guys who can score from 3, mid-range, take it to the cup off the dribble, really get into that bag, there's nobody really quite like Kyrie and Kevin Durant. And if I need a basket game on the line, the number one person I'm going to in the NBA right now is Kevin Durant, and the number 2 person I'm going to is Kyrie Irving. Back to back, those are the 2 guys I trust the most. When you see the shot Kevin Durant hit in Game 7 to send it into overtime versus the Bucks, the turnaround where his foot was right on the line, just a smidget behind the line, it'd be game. And then you see the shot Kyrie hit over Steph from that right wing. He's so dangerous from that right wing. He's hit so many clutch shots from there. They're just, man, those 2 are tough. They've hit 2 of the toughest shots that we've seen in recent memory, really all time. Those are 2 of the toughest shots in the most pivotal moments. These are playoff games. These are championship games, But Kevin Durant is phenomenal. We all know that. But Kyrie Irving is, man, he's a wonderkind. He's one of one. He's really a beast when it comes to basketball. There's not any who have really done it in the way that Kyrie Irving has done it. So we'll see if he's able to play home games, if the mandate gets uplifted, and he's able to help the Nets get to the finals and possibly win a championship. It's going to be an uphill battle. If you asked me a few weeks ago, I would have said, man, that's just too tough. If you asked me during the trade for Ben Simmons, I'd say, well, maybe they're going to be really nice next season, but it's just too much to ask for right now. But the way that he's balling, the way that he's locked in, Kevin Durant is locked in. The role players seem to fit well. Anything's possible. It just depends on the matchup. But anyways, thanks for watching. Peace.